Yes, sir.
I'd like to call the November fourth council meeting to order.
Yes.
6:01.
All right, can we put you on speaker? Sure.
We tried to call it? Yes, I never rang. I ain't even got a missed call.
Here he is on speaker.
All right. Good deal. So everybody except Lucas Stroud is present. Start with your.
All right, we're gonna start with the additionals. The additionals is, looks like we start with Parks Department, part-time salary. Coming out of County Gen Parks, part-time salary for $5,705. We have Parks Department, OASI, County Gen, Parks OASI for $440. Parks Department unemployment out of County Gen, Parks unemployment $200. Clerk's office election software out of capital projects, election software, 1,000 or 113,570. We have vehicle out of county gen, new vehicle, 30,000. Crawford County Sheriff's Department School Resource Officer out of Sheriff's Deputy, 200,000. And then we have Highway Department bridge payment out of Crawford County Bridge Fund, bridge inspections out, for 264,000.
All right, everybody's got the additionals there. Any comments?
Are these additionals?
The additionals and, well, transfers, okay, all right?
Yeah, well, I just read the additionals only,
All right.
next two pages.
So all the park stuff is what we talked about last week, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
And
the,
then the clerk's office, we talked about last week.
right, the election.
Coroner's vehicle, we talked about last week.
Yeah.
What's the 200,000 for the sheriff's department?
I think that was to go for the,
School
it's for their
resource.
pay, so it was going from the school resource officer to the deputy sheriff's, or sheriff's deputy,
So you're just moving it between them two line items, right?
yeah.
So this is a transfer, it's not an additional.
Oh, it's an additional,
I thought the school paid for the school resource officer.
yeah, that was advertised for 200,000.
You got it, room.
I think we got a bill, we were supposed to pay something, and so they requested. And I think because it's moving from one fund to a different fund.
That's an additional, that's a transfer.
No, from one fund to a different fund would be an additional.
The transfer addition. Is it something we already have, or is it something we have to create? $200,000 is a lot of money.
I mean. You never know.
Crawford County Sheriff's Department, School Resource Officer, two. Sheriff's Deputy.
It looks like it may be for payroll. That's what I was thinking, was sheriff's deputy, it might be payroll.
I thought that was something we kind of talked about, is that there was an additional request that the department head would be here. I see all the rest of it. The rest of it here. Yep, right there, yep.
Sheriff's deputy.
264, that's the Hypo Chapel. Right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So it looks like currently in sheriff's deputy, the line item itself. There is 73,371.74 currently available. So. Let's see what the resources. You want, I can give Wendy a call real quick and see if she happens to know.
That, we can just pull it, talk about the left things.
Hello? Can you hear me?
What they're gonna do, you gonna pull that out, do the rest of them and leave that one,
I think so.
and then come back to it, or?
Yeah.
Get an answer. Can we scratch that one off this?
I just messaged her, she messaged back, so she's texting me right now about it. The resource officer money we got from the school and it needs to be put in a line item. That's what it is. So I guess it's money from the school that needs to be put into a line item.
So you received money,
Yes,
so it's. Where's that money?
it's in there. It's in the school resource one. So, but it needs to be moved over to the sheriff's deputies, it sounds like.
So it comes from the school, is that what you're saying? That's what she's saying. Never scheduled for that, so all the things that would be nice to have with part of things, that's what we requested.
They get paid out of sheriff's deputy line, so that's where we need to put it. That's what she said.
So it's technically a transfer, but
I would explain because it came from a different fund. I'm not seeing in their 1,000 fund, I'm not seeing school resource officer. So it's probably in one of their other funds. But yes, we received that money in. So,
you just don't know which one, what account.
I mean, I personally don't know where it got put at. So that doesn't mean she doesn't know.
Those money we received, we need to put it in the sheriff's deputy pay.
Yes. Because the resource officers get paid out of there.
Okay, any more questions or concerns on these? Entertain a motion to approve.
She said it went from county gen and we did the additional to be put into the line. So that's where we put it, was in county gen, and that's why we.
Why wouldn't you just put it straight into school resource officer?
Sometimes, I can say when we get the payables, it doesn't give us very much detail on it, and we can only hold on to it for a certain amount of time before we have to put it somewhere. So we typically will put it into miscellaneous receipts in county gen until we know where it needs to go, and then we will, until we can get a response back from the state. So sometimes you don't get those responses the same day.
I don't see any receipts for county jail.
What do you mean, you don't see it receiving in?
Yeah, I mean, for the conference. Do you not put it in there? I don't think you'd see that.
I mean, on the monthly comparison is what you're talking about, so on the monthly comparison, you're not gonna see individual receipts. You're just gonna see the 1,000 fund and everything that gets put in there, so, for the receipts for that month. On the auditor side, I don't know why it won't show it there, but I can tell you that I went through November 30th, so it could have been something that we did in October. So this is for the month of November. So this is going towards the month of November. So you're seeing all of the balances for November.
Gotcha. Okay, that might, I actually, yeah, that makes sense.
So being it's only the 4th. We haven't really received too much in.
She
so-
probably received it in October.
Yeah, so if you want, I can pull one up for October and I can tell you how much was put in for monthly comparison.
But it hadn't been in there, just look at your ending
Yeah,
balance.
yeah,
That's it, the two cents.
Yeah, so it's in here, yeah,
It just
That's
shows
the
the only thing that got put in.
yeah, well, there's a little bit more than
Three, 5,000.
that, yeah.
$245,000 difference.
So this is for the end of October. We can.
What's that, yeah.
Or whatever, but, that's how much was received from per capita. In the month of October.
It says 86,000.
So, like I said.
Not 200.
Right, so that's what I'm saying, is I'm not exactly sure, like. I just know for us to type up.
I was thinking, yeah, we figured it out.
It used to bullet in. We make payroll, be able to make payroll for the sheriff's department.
I know,
No, I said, will you be able to make payroll? Is there enough money to make payroll?
I mean, I assume so,
Okay.
I think so, I haven't been told otherwise, and like I said, in the sheriff's deputy line itself, there's 73,000, so unless it goes over 73,000.
What is it?
For this one payroll. Says, all the deputies get paid out of deputy line. Before I received it in, I asked if we needed to put the 200,000 into the resource officer line or the sheriff's deputies, and was told since they get paid from deputies to put it in that line. We were just doing an additional to put it in that line.
About it. Prove it, scratch it out, table the whole line.
I mean, it looks like it got put in there. let's just pull that line if it ain't gonna hurt anything. And we can look at it next meeting. Let's look at it. What was it meant for? Yeah, it's be better, 70,000. I know what you said, the balance was in deputies, 70,000.
I believe it was 73. So just in the expense line itself, there's 73,000 through 71 and 74 cents. And the overall cash account. There's 733,000. In the overall cash account.
I'll make a motion to approve the rest of the additionals with exception of the sheriff department until we get that clarified. Ready to go.
So Sean's got a motion to approve all these transfers. Except for the sheriff's department, the sheriff's deputy. Do we got a second?
I'll second that.
Rolling seconds it, all those in favor? 6. Let's just scratch this out, sign this one.
Yeah, that's, I'm not really sure. It's going to be the transfers, remove this, I can do it. That's this one. So for the transfers, we have for highway department, road repair, 1176 to highway computer equipment, 1176 is $2,013.21. Then we have 1176 D1 foreman to 1173 D1 foreman for $5,682.43. We have D2 foreman in 1176 to D2 foreman in 1173 for $8,000. D3 foreman in 1176 to D3 foreman in 1173 for $8,000. Administrator in 1176 to administrator in 1173 for $70. Truck drivers from 1176 to truck drivers in 1173 for $32,000. Equipment operators in 1176 to equipment operator in 1173, $110,000. Equipment operator from 1176 to drag operators, 1173, $138.32. Equipment operator 1176 to part-time 1176, $5,000. Truck drivers in 1176 to part-time in 1173 for $5,000. Bituminous, however you say that word, 1173 to road oil in 1173 is $4,308.37. Culverts in 1173 to road oil in 1173 for $962. Stone in 1176 to patch oil in 1176, $1,220. Stone in 1176 to patch oil in 1173, $20,000. OASI from 1176 in 1173, $12,000. Perf in 1176 to perf in 1173, $20,000. Unemployment from 1176 to unemployment in 1173, $2,500. Tires from 1173 to tires in 1176 is $3,000. Tires in 1173 to gas and oil in 1176, $110.43. Road oil in 1176 to stone in 1173, $80,000. Bridge inspection in 1176 to health insurance 1173 is $60,000. Bridge inspection in 1176 to stone in 1173, $12,500. Professional services in 1173 to preservation in 1173, $45,000. Workers' comp from 1176 to health insurance in 1176 for 20,000.
All right, do we have a motion to do the transfers?
Let's ask an educational question. I'm sorry, I'm trying to, I don't want to get that restricted issue in. So is this good? So this doesn't get into the same problem from last year?
That's correct, and that's what this is doing, is it's just shifting it back and forth, the appropriation, that's not any cash. So it's just appropriation, but things were paid.
Right.
And the last day of the year, if there's any, they call it corrections there. That, those will be done at your last meeting, this is just so that everything's, either zero or positive.
Okay, so that's why you would move like the OASI from 76 to 73.
That's right, so.
Instead of spending on 76, you move it over.
That's correct, so we paid it in real time, so when we did not budget it last year in the 1173 side, it paid out in real time. So your line items show a negative on your appropriation, so you move it from 76 to 73.
Yeah.
It's zero, but no cash changed it.
It's a very confusing thing, and I just didn't want to see us get back in that issue that we got before, so thank you.
Right.
So,
I'll make the motion, prove unless there's another one.
but both of these accounts are showing negative.
That this month or last month?
Both accounts are not negative. 1173 as of yesterday morning had like 239,000.
This shows 635, and then it shows ending balance difference.
The ending balance difference is to your appropriation, that's not your cash.
Yeah, so that's subtracted from that 235.
Yeah.
That's not a negative.
Oh,
The difference, yeah.
I was just, the 1176, it looks like it's negative all the way across to me, but I don't know.
1176 is negative 33,000, but the sum of the two makes it be positive, and we haven't gotten our November draw yet. So when our November draw comes in, 1176 will end the month with about $75,000.
I hope you're right. I don't know, I can't tell with this.
You look at the current fund balance, that'll tell you the current cash, and then you add those two together. And the sum of the two is the current balance between both funds. That's right.
The restricted funds paid down, so we have to do this.
Yeah, we're down like, we began the year like $1 million, down to like 230,000 with restricted fund. We don't like it to get below 100,000. Because you gotta have a little bit of an operation.
And that draw comes in November.
It comes every month. I mean, it comes every month. It comes anywhere between the 10th and the 20th.
Okay. So we go back. Revisit. Any more questions on the transfer? All right, here comes your answer, Sean, on the other one. Maybe we can back up and fix that while we're.
Thank you.
Save the day. Thank you.
Thanks for bringing that.
You
Can you tell me the date on the top of that quote?
What's the name of it? Yes. September 22nd.
That's why it is.
That's why they did on October. Yeah. When the rain. Yeah. We'll go back to that.
Yeah, we probably should.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion, we approve that sheriff's transfer.
Thank you, here.
I did, I think I have it. I might have one.
You know,
Because I didn't,
we'll use mine.
I got it. Because, what's the strap is here, so. and then-
I'll second that.
All those in favor? 6-0.
Okay, so we're reversing.
And then. All right, now we need to do the transfer.
Motion.
Mark's got a motion to approve the transfers. We got a second. Troy seconds it. All in favor? 6-0 on transfer. The
You did, Mark.
Mark, no, that was the transfer.
Yeah.
Mark and Troy on the transfers.
Yeah.
The additionals was Sean.
And then.
On the first one, yeah. And then, well, when we did the sheriff's, I first. Bill second.
And I second that.
Troy's bill. Troy and Bill, Mark and Troy.
No, unfortunately, I do not know those. I'll have everybody next time.
The advertisement of the. Gunny thing. Chance, do you want to explain that email or do you want me to just read the email?
Well, I can answer any questions. What it is just closing out our community crossing. So we have all of our billings in, including the retainage. And so the appropriations have been spent. We're not really asking for any new cash. We just have to have the appropriations, the line items from the cash account. We've spent the year paying down the restricted balance, and it's down to whatever the figure in front of you is. But we propose we take another $154,000 out of the restricted fund. We really don't want to spend it below that because that's our operating balance. And then we'll take the remaining out of our highway riverboat funds so that they don't have to come out of any other county project funds. And that will close out 2025 for 2024-2 and 2025 community crossing. So both of those projects, which was total scope of work for the county was like close to $3 million by the time between those two projects. And then we have applied for 2026. We're just waiting on a response from NDOT on how much of that will be approved.
So basically what he's wanting is permission to, I guess, to advertise.
Well, permission to go ahead and pay the commissioners to approve the claims for the auditor to go ahead and pay these. And then we'll, in the December meeting, we'll sign it so that the line items will be zero with that meeting.
But these need to be advertised, correct?
They need to be advertised, but we need to go ahead and pay them so that the contractors are not waiting an additional 30 days on our money. They've been waiting 30 days and they haven't, charged us any finance charges, but that's just by their good grace.
I'll make that motion that we get this, we get that closed out.
All right, Clark's
I
got
don't need any late fees, so. Second.
it. Seconds it. All those in favor? 6-1.
Can't you get any update on the FEMA stuff or anything back from them?
Yeah, so we got our final determination memo from FEMA today, who has again denied the claim. Senator Young's office is working on an appeal, but I got an update from her today because I anticipated this would be asked. And she stated that FEMA's office is saying that no inquiries will be processed until the government reopens.
I forgot about that.
But what I've been working with people at NDOT, and I've come to the conclusion that Federal Highway Administration probably is responsible for this payment. So FEMA's saying they're not responsible and NDOT's saying they're not responsible, but they both agree that the other one is responsible. So somebody's responsible for the money. And if the NDOT is responsible, it may work out a little better for us because NDOT's reimbursement is 90%, and FEMA's reimbursement is 75%. I imagine we'll be fighting for a while, but once we do, I think it'll be better if Federal Highway is responsible. So, well, we have a good advocate. There's a lady in his office that's really staying on top of it as much as she can, but once the government reopens, I'll have more information for you.
Was there any other counties around us that had the same situation?
They did, so I was able to get back a total of, I think, 84,000 is what they've signed off, they'll approve on. We've not seen the cash yet, but they have signed off and approved it. The problem with this road is, it's considered a federal highway, rural, they call it a rural major collector. And so that means that they is responsible in these types of events. We're responsible for day-to-day maintenance, snow clearing, mowing, patching potholes, those kinds of things. But in an event like this, Federal Highway Administration is supposed to be responsible because it was designated as a federal major collector in 1964 is what we were able to come up with. And it's probably because Cape Sandy Quarry was put on that and the amount of daily traffic that goes up through there. But that's the situation of why that project was denied and all our other projects were approved. Of course, it would be the most expensive.
Yeah, sure. Do you get a different rate for major collectors on the NDOT side?
No.
So what's the benefit of it being designated as a major collector?
You can apply for a federal aid
So
project.
just federal funds?
So, but that's a 7 year, so that would be to say, we need to repave from Fredonia Circle and McClure Road to Archibald Falls Road. You could put that section of road on a federal aid call, but it would take 7 years to redo it. This emergency situation, the federal highway is supposed to step in and reimburse, instead of fee.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Chief.
All right, let's get that one. We had a proposal on the fairgrounds we talked about last meeting. Great. We drafted up. This was drafted up. Our attorney received it today. It's been signed by the commissioners. And Economic Development, Joe Smith, signed it. But our attorney, so you just got this, Mike,
Great.
yeah, but Mike,
Just got
you say,
back today, and
Mike
I'm
was
not sure-
looking,
I'm not sure I've seen the final version. Understanding from Mr. Blanton, the drafter of this, is that he was gonna make a couple other changes. But I do know that the documents I reviewed, and Max reviewed as well, did not cause us any legal concern. It was pretty clear, what the intention is. I received one version that had what I'll call a default provision, in it, and default and remedy, which allowed either the county to get out with 30 days notice, and then one version did not have that. And then there was some back and forth about, changing some of the names to be more accurate. But I did not see anything that caused me any great concern. I suppose my biggest concern is I don't have a final version in front of me to look at. I don't have the version that's signed by economic development and the commissioners, but subject to that, there was nothing in the review that I thought was confusing or, hide the ball or anything like that. I think it was pretty straightforward in the way it was drafted.
The final version that you have in hand, Chad, is the one that he saw without the default remedy and with the council president and the EDC rep names changed. That's the only differences from what he saw earlier today.
Okay.
And that was just because he had outdated names.
Yeah, he had Mike's name to you,
Years ago.
he's president.
So the names has been fixed on the one I've got.
Yeah, the names were
Okay.
fixed, but nothing
And I
else
would
was
just,
changed.
make sure you guys look carefully, at number 3, which says the council's commitment. I think it's pretty easy to decipher what the intent is there. I mean, like I said, this is very clearly drafted. This is not, there's no secret about what they're trying to do. And so I don't have any legal concerns about the document, assuming you understand your commitment in terms of paragraph 3.
Did everybody get a chance to read that?
Yeah,
Good thing I'm concerned about is the fact that 5 year contract. That's way beyond anybody's term here on this board. That's a decision that's affected, way out. We've already agreed to fund the economic development next year. We've already come up with an amount. It's already been appropriated in our budget. It was already approved. I don't have a problem with a year to year like we've been doing in the past. The 5-year commitment with absolutely no, I don't want to say, show of return.
I think economic development's problem with this, and I'm just talking about.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
They're, they hold their breath every year. They put out a budget and they hold their breath to make sure they get that money, which the state provides X amount of dollars every year for that. Probably up for the next 3 years. I think they're just wanting to make a plan for whatever type of event that would come along that they get set aside X amount of dollars a year.
Why don't we do 5-year contracts with EMS? Prosecutors office. Clerk's office.
One thing about that, excuse me, is, the ed funds goes away after next year. Okay, with the new legislature changes, which,
Or maybe they don't.
okay, so in 27, it reverts back to the lead taxes that you all control. Moving forward, okay, so if it wasn't for that, it probably would not be a deal. That is a deal.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think annually we budget year to year. Our annual appropriations are year to year. We don't do a 5-year budget here for any of these departments that are in the room. So now I can't see doing a 5-year contract, especially with an entity that's not even ours. Jesse Belzer has done an amazing job. Absolutely not question that at all. But who's to say Jesse doesn't find a better job next year and is somewhere else? And we've run across this. We've had numerous economic development directors over the past several years. I don't disagree that we need economic development. Every county has it. We support it. We've already budgeted for it. We've already budgeted for 2026. Morton, I'm gonna I'm gonna read something here. This is a quote from you. Okay? Moving forward, our goal is to be self-funded. We're not using edit monies to fund economic development. There's other sources and other ways for this to happen.
That is still our intent to do, okay? But with available opportunities that we've had, we haven't reached that yet. But we have, I feel, we've done a great job, putting a lot of funding into our county. That more is more than paid for anything that we've ever done, and we've shored up other departments. And shored up EMS, how that runs in 2 or 3 years. We're asking for some return, and with the new housing project going in, the taxes that the county's going to be receiving after 27 moving forward, is probably well going to pay for what we're doing. But we like you are talking about, we feel like we deserve a little payback and a little security for our efforts as well, the major projects, and we have one on in account to continue the progress with sewer districts, stuff, how landlord commitments that we are in with that. Just where we're at.
Right.
So.
Let me say something here. When we were doing our budget, we talked among ourselves about giving the economic development an extra 50,000 a year. I only received one complaint on this, but the way I responded to it was, I feel like we're sowing seeds. We're at our park and our economic development. If we don't do nothing, we don't get nothing. But if we give a little extra and take a chance, I think it's not our problem if it doesn't work out. So that was my thought on it. I'm okay with it. I think it's.
I mean, we've already helped them out. We've already funded 200,000 plus for next year. We've already committed that.
Got a $2 million piece of property up there that hadn't been took care of for over 6 years.
Oh, you're talking about the park.
The park.
Yeah, I'm talking about economic development.
Well, this is about the park, and we're,
But it is all tied. That, you're right, is it not tied that if you have to do the 5-year contract?
I'll make a quick comment if you guys don't mind.
go ahead, yes, sir.
I've just got two points I'd like to make really quickly. The first is with the grant that we're applying for through the state for this a subdivision project. I'm hoping we'll have an answer on that within the next week or so. But I don't want to say this in a way that seems like I'm trying to hold you guys over a barrel or anything like that, because that's not how I mean it. There are probably ways we could work around, but if we get that, that's a grant project that runs through the end of 2028. So really, short of doing some real gymnastics with the state, and I'm not sure if we can pull that off or not, economic development would almost have to, on some level, be funded through the end of 2028 regardless, just to finish out that project. You can't take 1.85 million from the state to not finish that out. And the second thing I'd like to address is the quote there. I've talked with several people about this on a one-on-one basis, but I've never really addressed that point in a public meeting, and I guess it's time I probably ought to. I know there were a lot of things said back when the Economic Development Corporation was established. That was not me saying those things, but those things were said, and I acknowledge it, about the EDC becoming self-funding at some point. But the thing about that is, I think there were a lot of us that had some misunderstandings about how certain things worked at that point. Economic development, short of me going to a business owner like Mickey Trucking or Jasper Engines or Todd Dickey or whoever and saying, hey, would you give me money? That's the only way I have of actually generating money as an EDC. If we bring in a new business, those taxes go to the county. If we help a business expand and they hire 10 more people at $50,000 a year, that income tax money goes to the county. The only thing within the economic development sort of umbrella that can actually generate any funding is the redevelopment commission, which that captures the excess, property tax revenue, off of new businesses that are established within the TIF area. But that money has very strict statutory, requirements on what that can be spent. We can spend that money on infrastructure, we can spend it on roads, sewer, water, electric capacity, anything like that. But that can't actually be spent on economic development operations. So I think there were some things that were misstated at the creation of the EDC. I think in large part, if you look at the expansion we helped with Minky Trucking, if you look at the location of Simcoe at the industrial park and their expansion, you look at the expansions that Blue River Carp has had, the expansions out at the lake that we helped out with. I think economic development has, if you look at it in that capacity, has paid for itself. And if you compound that with the fact that I wrote 2 grants for the county that resulted in us getting somewhere in the neighborhood of $800,000 for the county in grant money, if you combine that in, we certainly have paid for ourselves. It's just not paying for ourselves in the sense that we're bringing that money in because we don't have any legal capacity to do that. So I just wanted to clear the air on that, make sure everybody understood what I think the intention of what was said back then. Like I say, I didn't say it, and I think there were a lot of people involved that said some things, maybe not in the way that they should have, but the end result, I think, is pretty much where we are.
Out of those new businesses that you named, how many of those have tax abatements?
Minky Trucking had tax abatements, they would be somewhere around the 3rd year of that now. The Toka Lake would be a year further into it than that, I believe. I think they were the year before Minky. Minky was in 22 because that was right after I became the director. Simcoe, did you guys do 2 abatements on Simcoe or just 1?
One,
Okay, and so Simcoe would be roughly 7 years into theirs. Blue River Carp did not receive any. I think in the time that I've been here, the distillery, when the distillery was built, when Minky expanded and when Simcoe came in, I think those are the only 3 abatements since I've been here, and that's 8.5 years or so now.
well, thanks for that explanation, Jesse, that really
Sure.
made it a little more clear of where the money goes and.
I've got a question, because I'm thinking about, is there, somebody brought to my attention, which I don't get the Clarion News like I used to. But that in the Clarion News is this housing project going to affect the people who, what they pay for the sewer down in Leavenworth, gonna double or something, or? Am I?
No, the situation with the wastewater system in Leavenworth, that the rates have gone up to a degree at this point, and they could wind up going up more. But that is tied to the fact that the wastewater treatment plant has a lot of stuff in it that needs to be replaced. The only thing that's being done to the sewer system for this subdivision is if you're standing on 66 and you're looking at the dollar store, on the opposite side of the dollar store, there's a lift station over there. And that was pretty much at capacity, so that had to be upgraded in order to serve the new subdivision. And the redevelopment commission is paying for that upgrade. So there's no extra money coming out of anybody's pocket on their wastewater bill related to the subdivision. Like I say, depending on what they wind up having to bond for the wastewater treatment plant, it has gone up and it could go up more because of that. but that is a pre-existing thing that has to be done subdivision or no.
Okay, okay. What are the, like, $216,000 was what we're gonna get, you were gonna get, and then in this you're asking for another $100,000 on top of that for the 5 years. Can you tell me why you're asking for the 100,000?
Basically, across the first 6, 7 years that the EDC's been funded, we've always been funded a little higher than operations. And that money, we've been thrifty, we've saved money wherever we can. That's the money we were able to bankroll back, and that's what we're using to fund the local match on this subdivision project. So by the time we're done spending out that money, which most of the pre-con should be done next year, provided we move ahead on the schedule we think we're going to, at that point, we're going to have pretty much exhausted that reserve. So basically where the 100,000 comes in is that's what we're asking is in each of those years, that would be 100,000 in reserves, which allows us to turn around if another project presents itself. And that's probably not gonna be another subdivision. That would probably be if we decided to do something like a shell building, or if a company was coming in and we needed to do some kind of work because we are tying up a lot of the redevelopment money in the sewer stuff and in the infrastructure within the subdivision. If it's something like at some point, our power network over on that end of the county is pretty much tapped out at this point. So if we would need to invest into building a substation out there, there are any number of things. And so that extra 100,000 is basically our opportunity to build a reserve back up. So the next time we have a project coming along, I'm not standing here asking you guys to come up with $300,000 all at once. We build up a reserve across a couple of years and we just pay it out ourselves.
And then the housing project, what price range will those houses be at?
Part of it will come down to what happens with material costs between now and when the houses start being built. At this point, our best estimate based on what, the southern ones in French Lick for, we're thinking about 185, 190,000.
I support economic development. I think they do, like I said, they do what we need them to do. But I'm sure that every department in this county would love to be able to budget for more and keep what's left over. That's why we asked them to come here for additionals to explain, why they needed, what they're gonna need it for. I think we're good with money, and that's what we need to do. So I support an annual contract as we've been doing over the past 9 years or whatever it's been. That's just me. Those will know you how, that's how I feel.
So. Does anybody got anything else to say?
I just know a lot can
About
change,
this.
like, I'm sure we say a lot can change in 5 years, but we don't
Yeah,
know.
exactly. We don't know. We don't know, we run across this Senate bill 2 years ago. None of this board would have ever thought that we've been looking at something like this. We don't know what the future brings. We don't know what 2028 is going to
Yeah, I
be.
know,
So
5 years.
I
is kinda-
just would hate to see this council and future councils. But I totally support continuing our relationship with economic development.
So next, somebody have a direction they wanna go? Do we have a motion? I guess I'll just ask if anyone has a motion to approve this, to move forward. Do we wanna?
Has everybody looked at it enough to make a decision of it?
I've looked at it, and I just don't feel, I don't feel like our attorney really felt.
Yeah, I think,
confident.
let him take a deeper dive.
I got the gist from Greg that if there was nothing legally in that would harm the county in any way. the real things that we found was have Thiesen's name on there, and my name on there as president.
Right.
What was it?
Yeah, yeah, leave the verbiage in it, oh, I just remain the same.
They have these names on them.
That's the only, there were two different versions that were tendered to me.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Sorry, to interrupt.
Yeah, good on
Right.
One version, called for a termination provision,
Mhm.
that allowed for, the county upon 30 days notice to terminate this.
Mhm.
And then it went from there. Apparently, the version that's been signed does not contain that provision. Again, that is not a legal problem at all. I think the contract is very clear. I don't think it has any legal problems. I don't think it's a lawyer's decision. I think this is purely a decision, of what you want to do.
But that, there was,
Legally, it's the document's just fine.
but there was, that clause was in there before, but it was taken out, you're saying, Correct.
Actually, it's two versions tender,
yeah.
and it was
Two
never,
different
it was never counted as one over the other. Two
Okay.
different versions that were sent to me today by Mr. Plant,
And these two
and one
names.
of those versions has been signed, and Jesse might be able to speak to why that one was tendered as opposed to the other. I do not know.
That 30 days, it was, you know, okay.
My thought process on the termination or not termination is that in our annual contract that we sign with the county from year to year, each year in December, the commissioners will sign it and presumably you guys will sign it. That has a 30-day termination clause within it anyway.
Mm,
So it seems redundant to have
Okay,
a 30-day
okay.
termination there and a 30-day termination here.
okay,
Either way, if the county decides they don't want to do business with the EDC anymore, we don't have any actual say in the matter.
okay.
I'll make the
Kathy,
mo-
my role is telling you, hey, this is a legal issue or legal problem. You can't do this, you shouldn't do this. This contract is very fairly drafted, it's very easy to read, it's fairly straightforward and state. It's just a matter of if we want to do it or not. That counts.
Okay.
Right.
I'll make the motion that we accept it based on the fact there's no legal problems with it for the council.
Got a motion from Bill, second from Mark, all those in favor?
Yeah.
No.
We had 5 and 1 against. Great. We made it, all those opposed.
That is,
You're
so
opposed, right?
I oppose,
Yeah.
the 5-year contract.
Yeah.
that's for you and Mark to sign.
There's just one spot for. Me.
Just the president.
Yeah, you've been authorized now by the council to sign on the 5-1 vote, so you may sign.
So what's the penalty if we terminate next year because we run out of money, or we got Long Bridge falls in?
Did it say anything about?
We'll worry about it next year.
We can,
You know, think, well, I thought about it, I think I got it right now and everything.
yeah, you did on the back, I don't know. All right, Dayton,
At the last meeting, we were asked to come up with an official plan for the fairgrounds. And so I put together what I'm calling the fairgrounds framework. You're looking at page 1, 2, 3, 4. Save a little bit of paper, plus I was running out of ink earlier today. I was not gonna make it.
We got the shit.
Oh,
I
okay.
realize we're all over 50 or. I was just saying, I don't read that.
Now, no, whoa, whoa.
Thank you.
I know it's small.
I feel-
It's okay. So basically, I'll walk through it pretty quick. And if anybody has any questions, I'm more than happy to answer. Oh, yes, I do. I can email it to anybody that wants to see it, so you can see it full blown up version. So basically what we're looking at, it's organized into revenue making projects, just improvement projects, and then a breakdown of our yearly budget, and then additional topics. So basically, you can see on that first page, a lot of mock-ups, but they are hard to see just because they're small.
Mhm.
So you're looking at a couple of our bigger projects on that first page, top left on that second page. An overview, satellite view of what the fairgrounds could look like, an up-close view of what the camper outlet should look like, and then just a fancier view of all the different projects and where they would be. Does anybody have any questions so far? Cause I talk fast, just tell me to stop.
Sorry.
We're all ready to get home to dinner. So, first we go through our revenue streams. I've listed those out here. There, obviously, more things can add, more things can be taken away. There's a couple things just at the bottom, like 5Ks, basketball tournaments, carnivals, whether that's a revenue stream or not, is for us to find out. Your regular rentals, winter barn storage, we could add a billboard at the end of the driveway if we wanted to. We could also look into someday when the government reopens, we can look at solar panel additions, save a little bit of money on solar, things on electric and things like that. So that's something we can look into in the future. Then we go into projects that are revenue based. So I got those organized by page here. So first, you're looking at the arenas, a couple of events we can have, that's broken down into phases, and then, we might have that project funded. That is yet to be seen, we should know more in January. That 15,000, that gets us to the bare minimum of what we need to operate it. Obviously, we would probably fill out grants to get more money, get a better fencing system, etc. Next, you want to camping, I know that was a big focus. I wanna say, like, Wayne Larimore worked day and night the last couple of days to get me a quote on camping. He sent it to me on the drive over here. So camping for electric and water, we're actually looking at about 75,000 to do that, and I have 100,000 here. The thing we would have to look at, and we couldn't get it this quick, would be, we're gonna have to add another transformer to the facility. And that's through Duke Energy. So we have to wait on them, they have to come out of the facility, do a whole thing, then they would tell us how much that costs to be able to put electric to the back of the facility, because right now we're just kind of in that one section in the middle of the property. So to extend it to the back, we're gonna have to add in some stuff through Duke personally. So that's the only thing that would be additional there, and then how far we wanna go on beautification and things like that. Are we gonna put concrete, pull-ins, or are we gonna do gravel, etc. Then we go into the outdoor classroom amphitheater. That one might also be funded. I got that final quote the other day. That obviously has a couple different ways you can go about it. Next up is something new that I thought would be interesting to add. We have a shelter house to the back of the facility that's it's ready to go. I have somebody ready to come take it for scrap if we want to. And we can replace it with a more of an outdoor venue, fancy shelter house that's actually in one of the mock-ups.
Let me interrupt you for a second.
Yeah.
Martin, I'm gonna excuse myself. You take over as president.
Sure.
I gotta make an emergency call
Sure,
due to that fire.
go ahead.
So we're looking at what I'm calling the gathering hall. It's basically a fancy shelter house, weddings, reunions, things like that. That'll cost about 50,000. Hopefully we make more than 5 to 10 throughout the year. And then it kind of pulls more into the wedding venue side of things. And I think we all know how my sister got married last weekend. Wedding venues are expensive. So we can kind of tap into that market too. And then you go on to the racetrack. That's all finished. We're just pulling in funds from there throughout the year. We can post more events back there, get a more up-to-date contract with that company, bring in new companies, etc. Then you go on to events. We're hoping to add a spring event. Right now we do fall and winter. Hopefully we can add a spring. We can add farmers markets, things like that. Then you go into miscellaneous, where some of those smaller things like just our regular rentals, winter storage, other tournaments and things like that we can have at the facility. Any questions on revenue making? Okay. So then you go into overall improvement. This is the stuff that it costs money. It doesn't necessarily make you revenue back directly, but it does add into the overall appeal of the facility. So that would include the walking paths. We got 50,000 of that funded this year through a grant. To finish out the full path, it'd be another 25,000. So we could do that. Then you go into some of the not so fun things of infrastructure. That's roadways, bathrooms, electricity, water, lighting upgrades, things of that nature that we could look into. Bathrooms are kind of odd, just because we are on that mountain system. So whatever you do, you're gonna have to add a pump, because the mountain is basically the highest point on the facility. So that, I've heard varying different prices on that. There's a million ways to go about it. We could slap a porta potty everywhere if we want to. I don't really want to do that, But that is something we'll have to look at, see what the reality is of getting bathrooms further back in the facility. It is a possibility, it's just a matter of how much it will cost and how we wanna go about it. Then you're looking at pavilion updates, livestock barn updates, curb appeal updates, flagpole updates, shelter house, butterfly garden, miscellaneous things like the bathrooms and things like that. So that's all stuff that adds to the overall appeal, but it's not necessarily revenue making. Any questions so far? Okay. Then we go into, I have a chart that's actually kind of helpful if you don't want to look through all those individual pages.
Mhm.
We have the overall cost and projections. I do have a couple, like I said, that 75,000 for the camping is what we're at right now. It will go up once we hear from Duke. So right now we're looking at it's gonna cost about 250,000 to about 300,000 right now with what I mentioned. And we're hoping the goal is to generate between $90,000 and $100,000 a year, which is what we need to operate. So these are just a couple different things, all put into one sheet. Obviously, that projected revenue is projected, so it's not for sure, we could make more, we could make a little less. And we'll just have to get crafty with it as we go. So the plan was to go ahead and we have that 500,000, 100,000 for 26, 300,000 for projects, and another 100,000 left over in reserve for 2027. That's probably next year's gonna be a big project year. We're gonna have to construct all of this, so you're not gonna be making revenue right away. So hopefully, we have that $2,700,000 to get us through 2027, and that'll be the year we start making a larger chunk of the money. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
And we can obviously dip into that second 100,000 if needed, it's like a reserve. Any questions right now? So then you go into basically, this is our day-to-day stuff, this kind of breaks into that $100,000 budget that we want year to year. We continue air HVAC maintenance, what we wanted a water heater replacement this year, but I think we talked about that in the past. Doing some fencing upgrades, bathroom additions to the barn, basic facility maintenance, that's a big one. Cause we all know there's been a little hairy with that stuff this year, so now that we have that money, we can either hire our contractors if needed. We can work with Tommy a little bit more if needed. And obviously, that maintenance stuff is going to build as we add more stuff to the facility, that's just the reality of it. We're gonna have to hire more excavators and things of that nature to do things. So then we break again into that budget. I have it broke down in two different ways, just kind of see how it's easier to see. I have a flow chart version and an Excel sheet version, breakdown of what our yearly budget is. So if anybody has any questions on that, I'm hoping our insurance, we're getting quotes right now, through a couple different companies. It's just a long process. I'm being told that it shouldn't go up anymore because we're paying pretty high as it is, so we'll see. It just depends on if we're having to do event-specific insurance, or if we're good all the way through, what other stuff we add, etc. So, additional topics, this meeting had been next Tuesday, my board meeting would have been the day before, so I was gonna talk to them, so I haven't been able to meet with them yet. So one of the things they did, I sent all this to them in an email, talked to people on the phone, things like that. Something they did mention to me was the worry of doing all of this with just one part-time employee. Cause it's a lot, just being part-time. So they wanted to see what the possibilities were and what your guys' feelings were about pushing me to full-time and all the stuff that comes with that. It's also important to mention, like I said, we don't have an on-site maintenance professional. We can hire contractors now, which is great. It's definitely gonna be a big help to get mowing and stuff off of our hands if possible. But like, we have a lawyer who works with us pro bono, thankfully. So there might be a time when we need to pay lawyer fees, so that might be something we think about coming in line items in the future. Something Jesse and I have talked about is a 501c3 certification. That's a whole other ballgame. We have a lawyer that can do it for about 5,000 to 7,000, give or take. That gives us our own accounts, sets us up to be able to do it that way, if that's the route you guys would like to do. I also included a carnival quote, just because that's something somebody brought up last time around. To do a 3-day carnival, 8 to 10 rides, you're looking at about 30,000. It's a lot of money, and typically people charge about $25 per armband per day. So say you have a family of 5, you're looking at a lot of money, plus paying for food and stuff when you get in. So that's just the reality of carnivals. You can knock it down to 1 day, it'll obviously be less. It's just kind of a gamble on if you're gonna make your money back with carnivals. So I wanted to add that in there because I knew there had been some questions. But that is a really quick run through of that. I'm out of breath now.
You did good, but
Thank you.
It's a lot of work.
right? I think your 501c3 is important to have.
Yeah, right now we're classified as obviously a government entity. What,
People can make you donations online.
yeah, that would be,
States could leave you money, that, you know, that's real important. I think that 5 to 7 is too high to pay for that.
Okay.
I know Little League didn't pay any of that, so. Yeah,
I don't think it's so much getting your 501c3, just you kind of explain this better than me. The switching from being, it's the switching from being a government entity to 501c3, I think is where it's different.
Do you remember what the amount was, Mark? Because I was just spitballing, I thought it was.
Well,
rectified.
when tourism done their designation, Kaylee's got a name on the tax attorney down there.
That outfit did the best job.
My
I've
God, he
been
was
involved in this.
slick. I didn't have to do anything but pay.
And oh man, it's a breeze.
And I think he charged me about 2,500.
So that obviously changes that a little bit. I just think it's a good thing to consider, because being a government entity, we are able to apply for some grants like
Sure.
we've gotten, but it does take us out of the running for quite a few. And sometimes it knocks you to the bottom of the list, because while it's a government that's rich and has a ton of money not paying for it. So it kind of knocks you to the bottom.
So how do you go about deciding? How do you come up with the idea of, we need to do this first, this how we you pay for it?
Like for all these different projects that we need to do first.
Yeah, what's your process?
Yeah, so I would definitely focus on the revenue making first, kind of getting that stuff going. We, like I said, we might have an amphitheater paid for, might be working on that too. I would work on the arenas and the camping first. Doing pavilion updates as needed.
But your board votes on this all, right?
Yes,
Spending money.
How often does your board rotate?
so it's a little bit different, and I have to look at the ordinance just to be sure. I think it's so weird. I think it's 2 years, but they have the option to renew if I'm not
I
wrong.
think it is. I think it's based like tourism, yes.
Yeah, like you can
The
just.
only
that
thing
be
that
on.
concerned me is, you know, in the past, they had a board out there and the same people stayed on the board and they stayed on the board and they stayed on the board, and you see what we got.
Yeah.
So my opinion is that needs to
Rotate.
flow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
make it
that's-
rotate a little bit or something.
Yeah.
I think that's an actual ordinance. I don't know.
I
if
think
it's
it's
the right
written in
word.
the
I think that's
ordinance,
like,
tourism.
yeah, I think that's.
Well,
The
we
ordinance have to
appoint-
be written to be.
We got one appointed. Commissioners has got someone appointed, right?
Yeah, Soil and Water's got
The
somebody.
judge has somebody, Purdue Extension has somebody.
Right, so them ought to.
So,
They're in 2-year.
It goes by the party board,
They're set,
Yeah.
or was set.
2 from the council, 2 from the judge.
But I mean, how often do it, like I said on the water board. Bill sits on, we do that mine's every 3 years, I think, or every 4 years.
If I remember right, I think these were 3-year terms, but they were staggered.
Yeah.
So you do one year, one the next year, and then none the following year, and then one the next year, one the next year.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're 501, you could do a Friends of the Crawford County Park. You know, that's that way, it's an individual entity, 501, that can support, you know, just like economic development.
yep. And I think being able to take online things, online donations, cards, things like that would be very helpful.
So you get into where, you know, at one time there through Little League, we get somebody like, you know, Lily's always trying to get rid of money, they make too much money. And if you could get someone to come up with, say, $5,000, they would match it. And, you know, there's companies always looking for a tax
sure.
write-off. And,
Yeah, and right now, it's hard to do matching just because we don't know what we're gonna have.
well, you can't,
Yeah,
I mean,
really.
to help that person giving the money, you can't, I mean, you could, but you're not they're not helping themselves
Right,
out of the goodness of their heart.
right. But yeah, that's something that we've thought about looking at. Jesse and I talked about it a couple times, just because we do have so many day-to-day transactions and so many things going through so often. Being able to look at one bank account, and knowing what we're looking at would be ideal. And I did talk to the State Board of Accounts today about how we should continue on with this 500,000. I didn't know if you guys wanted to talk about it tonight, because I know, I'm sure you guys have other things to talk about, but, like for next year, I would like to request an unrestricted donation line. And I would like to request restricted donation lines for like an arena donation, a pavilion donation, or building donations, beautification donations. So we have a place to put those specifically, so we don't run into what we did last month. I spoke to her about that, somebody about that today. And then they actually said for this 500,000, that money will have to stay within those edit funds and rainy day. And we'll have to create line items under those funds, parks, capital projects, parks operation fund. So I don't know if that's something that needs to be done today, end of the year thing. A new statute would have to be made to be able to put that into like, say our 1219 fund. But that's legality and that's not my part, so.
Well, I think we did address that with Wendy when we talked about it. So I think it is gonna be, gonna stay there until we do something with it.
Does anybody have any other questions do we need to, move forward on anything full-time wise, anything? If I was to hire out contractors, is there anything I need to look at specifically? Going from there.
I would say hang off till we get there, all of our other ducks in a row. You know,
Sounds like a plan to me.
You probably, at some point in time, we probably will need to look at some kind of maintenance, some kind of person there to.
Before the first of the year, for sure, I mean, that's, I can tell you from experience, in the summertime, it's half of a full-time job mowing that daggone place, I mean, that's a lot.
I followed for 8 years.
Lot.
I mean, that's a big.
It's definitely a lot. We have going quotes that we could use to hire out the contractor.
Yeah, but I think, looking at them numbers, if you've got somebody out there to do odds and ends, even if it's another part-time position,
Yeah.
they can stay busy.
Well, part-time versus where that mode is on.
Yeah, that's what
I
I'm
might switch
saying.
jobs.
For what she got quotes for mowing, we could pay another part-time person to be there 30 hours a week. And mow and change light bulbs and weed eat and spray weed killer and. For what you're gonna pay one person just to mow. Which would involve, mower probably, but
What was that dollar figure on that loan?
I'd have to look it back up, but it was anywhere from 1,200 a month.
Yeah, a little bit like $1,800 a
$1,800 a
month,
month.
but that's,
Yeah,
A lot of money.
Yeah.
I think one of them was.
so you're looking at almost 18,000 a year,
Sure.
just for mowing only. So. I don't know, that's something we can look into later.
I was gonna say, 1,600, 1,800, 1,800, 1,300.
Yeah.
There's a lot. And one other thing I didn't mention is, roadway repair. It's a big one. It needs it. I talked to Chance a little bit about it. That could eat up all that 500,000 if we wanted to do.
But we don't want to.
No, I don't, you mean, either. But that's just something to keep in mind, like potholes get really bad throughout the summer when it rains, stays bad throughout the fall, gets worse in the winter, and it just keeps going.
The commissioners will help you with that, they'll take care of you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hear that from
Spare time, they can go out there and take care of that.
Spend a lot of money out there.
See, Dan's not here. Dan take care of that.
Dan, take care of it.
Yeah, there's a damn thing.
Thanks, Jade.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions?
Chance kit is the, I thinking about some state road milling work they're gonna be doing 26. Is there any way that you can get on like a list to get millings?
We have never done that since I've been there, but I mean, you can contact the NDOT, Vincent's office, and they may have some type of contact on that. If they're, generally, the way the contracts are written, if whoever the contractor is owns the milling, so you would need to find out if E&B or Rudolph's paving, and then get in contact with Rudolph, buy the milling from them. That's how we do our contracts, the contractor retains the milling.
Yeah, that's how they got kind of blocked off to begin with. When they did State Road 66, they asked if they could store all the millings there in the parking lot. And then in exchange, we were just allowed to borrow some.
Right.
And, you know, they run them through a paper, they just recycle them.
is what they did. Yeah, they just drive right down.
Yeah, one more, I guess, Michael, you got something, and Jennifer, is that right or no, or
It-
you wanna wait till the next meeting, or? Cause I think half your policy ain't here.
The only thing I have to add is I am losing an employee, in January.
Okay,
So, and I've been looking around to see who I can find that has to, that we have to have certifications in education just to obtain an office. And with the lowest person that's paid on the contract company that does the reassessment, they won't even do it because they won't take a pay cut to come take her job. So next year in January and February, I'm gonna be in here, because I appreciate what y'all did for the sheriff's department, potentially what you're gonna do for the prosecutor's department, and giving their employees raises and stuff. But I'm gonna have to be competitive just to find a chief deputy that's in that position. That's for me to give y'all something to think about in January and February when I come back in here. So that's basically the pay that we're getting for my staff and so forth, and the clerk, treasurer, they're all in the same boat. Just hiring people for the amount of pay, and I'm gonna be back in here because I'm having trouble finding somebody that is gonna be qualified to take that position, and nobody wants to take a pay cut to Crawford County. So I wanna be just as competitive, per se, like the sheriff's department and judge, prosecutor, or whoever else is, gonna get more stuff. I'm gonna have to be competitive too, so I just wanted to bring that to your attention that our departments are gonna be affected as well, and mine especially, because I'm losing a 30-year employee, next year. And, I'm gonna be in a tough position, and I don't wanna come to you all, but, I appreciate what you're doing for everybody else. I'm just gonna have to, come back here and petition you again at that time. So, that's all I have to say.
For a reason, I was waiting to see, I know the judge has asked for raises, and he can handle it, I get that, I understand that the prosecutor's asking for raises. Based on they feel that their departments are overworked, the head office hopes we all feel that our departments are overworked, but I want you guys to understand that my office, as the clerk, I am the hub for all of their work. Everything goes through us. Their offices are overworked. So is mine. I do have a 4D fund as well as the prosecutor that is transfers back to the county. My throat's itching. I'm sorry. At 60%, and then a percentage for each one of my employees. So I ask that you look at the clerk's office as well and make a judicial decision for raises in those departments.
yes. Well, what we did was, we did fix a few major problems that we had. And we understand that all departments need to be fixed. But as the old saying goes, day, so we can't. Unfortunately, we're not able to do that for everyone. But it is in our plan, we've talked about it, all of us have, what we need to do in the future. And it's our plan, assuming I'm still here, to keep moving forward in the direction we're moving. I mean, I don't know how to say it without sounding like I'm tooting our own horn, but I think we've made a lot of progress and it's showing. And if you bear with us, I think we're gonna get there, but we just can't jump in and I wish we could fix everybody in 1 year's time, but we're, so what we did was 4% for everybody that did not receive them raises. We did 4% for next year. So I know that's not what you're asking for.
No, I'm here totally on
But-
behalf of my staff.
Yeah,
That they're just as, and Chase will agree that my office, anything that they do comes through us.
I understand that. And we're,
So
like
how
I
do
said,
we justify? That's all I'm asking is how do we justify?
it's not going unnoticed. We know all about it and we're trying to do what we can to,
Well, I'm asking that my 4D fund that goes into the county general that we are reimbursed for. I believe right now there's like to date in September. There will be 140 that has been reimbursed from the work that the clerk's office does. I'm asking that that be generated back to clerks for raises for my department as well.
Is that something that's?
How many, quit, sorry, I didn't.
Is that something that comes in all the time or?
Yes, every month.
I mean, there.
I have an employee that is reimbursed 60% of her wages and 60% of what the county pays for her insurance. And in addition to that, each one of us, including my pay, the county is reimbursed a certain percentage back every month. So I'm asking that that would spill over to my employees because they're doing just as much work, because without the clerk's office, we're the hub. We take it in, send it out, take the bonds, do the, send out the orders. Jury management and then election on top of that, which is something that they don't do. So that's my point. I'm not asking you guys to decide that tonight, I'm so sorry, but
How many's in your
we
department?
have, counting myself, 4.
Full time?
Yes, and if you take that money and divide it, what it is right now, and that's a $5,000 raise a year for each one of them. I'm not asking for huge, but I'm just asking that when you consider this, realize that the clerk's office is the hub and it's judicial. I mean, I'm the circuit court. But without my staff, they couldn't, I mean, I'm not saying it couldn't go, but right's right, and fair's fair. That's it.
All right, thank you. That's all I've got on here.
Motion to adjourn.
Well, real quick, this isn't like a business thing. Mark, you asked for something in writing. What we talked about last meeting. If you guys want these now, or I don't want to, you can take them out here.
Okay, got them, bring them on.
You don't have to look at it. I know, man, my work,
Yeah.
reaction everybody's had.
I can read that one.
You read my. I gotta take a look at this.
I'm not gonna read this tonight.
Stop the lunch.
Sit here.
We got it. Motion to adjourn by Bill, second by Troy, all those in favor?
Yes.
Approved.
Bye, Greg.
Thank you, Greg.